Tell us a little bit about your family history. From where and when did you come to Washington State? And why settle here in White Bluffs?
Okay, my father was born in Schwetzingen, Germany in 1898. He took place in the First World War in Germany, and after the war he wanted to work with agriculture, to become a farmer. And his family had connections to people in Seattle, Washington, that knew about good farmland that has to be put under a plow. So he came to America, first New York, then Seattle, in 1926, as far as I know, and met these people in Seattle, and they did in fact have a very nice farm here on the Columbia River that was probably a cattle farm as far as we know. But in the between time, my father knew that the land was very good for fruit and even grapes, which he was interested in. So he first of all spent probably about a half a year. He went to California and worked up the coast with the fruit, and half a year later he was then able to purchase this farm with I assume some money coming from Germany. 400 acres that was fenced in with a nice house was surely a big project, and several buildings with silos and so on. And well, that is the reason my sister and I were both born here on the farm. And I was born in '38. My sister in 1940. And so we were here for a very short time in our life. And one day I remember two jeeps driving in, two military jeeps, and these people saying, "We have papers that that say this is going to become the atomic bomb, the Hanford atomic bomb project, and you will have to move out and within 2 months," which was a real challenge for a farmer. That day I was in the pen with the goats, and before the jeeps left, one of the goats that kicked me over had just knocked me over, and my mother was extremely excited about that. But nothing happened. It was just he just knocked me over.
You're still alive.
Yeah, no, I'm still alive. Yeah, but I was not able to conceive the bitterness that both my parents had to have to leave here. And my father at that time was already 40 years old. Let's see, wait, what, 30, no, yeah? No, older, 40, what is he?
42, 43.
42, 43. And he said, if I have to leave here, I'm going to Yakima, and I'm going to buy a very much smaller farm that I can work myself. And that's where my sister and I grew up, in Yakima, Washington.
So as far as your daily life, what was your day like?
I don't have a real memory of that, but I'm sure I was. You see, my mother, my aunt, and my grandmother were here a lot of the time. So I think we were tended to. Maybe riding the tractor once in a while, things like that. Nothing else very exciting.
So your grandparents actually lived here on the farm with you?
My for periods of time, I think yes, to help, because my mother surely needed help. She was not the type of woman that could handle 100 people.
Mm.
You know, cook for them.
She was in the cookhouse all the time, Grandma.
Yeah, my aunt's husband was working the ferry here, and she brought her younger sister with her, and they somehow met my father then, and yeah, so that my father married her then in 37, and I was born in 38.
Well, that probably then answers one of my next questions. This photo that was taken in 19...
Yes,
Was that?
that would be the marriage. That would be a marriage photo.
Marriage photo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Photos like that, were they prominently displayed in the house? Do you remember any of the photos or the furnishings that were in the house
yes,
itself?
this picture was in the house as far as I know.
And the furnishing?
The furnishings I don't remember. You see, I have in my house in Yakima, I have furnishings that were here. I have at least two chairs and a cupboard.
Mm-hmm. And the building and the site as we see it today, can you describe where and what the function of this building behind us was, where the homestead is to your best memory? Basically, what did your farm look like?
Well, no, I can't really. Do you have any comments on that?
No, because
you were 2 years younger than no.
I just don't even remember the layout of the house, which is really incredible.
Well, it was a small house. First of all,
help a little bit?
yeah, that small house. That was.
No, I don't remember even going in the door.
No, that's not the house. That is, I would say, this thing here. That's not the house. There's the house.
Do you recognize any of the people that are sitting on the porch?
We were trying to figure that out on the way over, but all we could figure out is maybe that was Mary Bruggemann's sister.
Well, that's
the
here.
daughter.
That's Glenna,
Oh,
isn't it? That
well,
should be Glenna.
And now that might be Uncle Glenn,
Yeah.
and that might be Glenna. I'm not
Yeah, okay.
too sure.
Which are relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Her Mary's sister's kids.
But Mary's.
Mary Bruggemann's sister's kids.
Yeah. Right.
And where did they live?
They lived here.
Here also?
They lived here. I don't know exactly where. I don't. It could very well be that my aunt was able to live here for a while because.
They were all together all the time, but back then they could make do, Some they're not spoiled like we are now. No showers and microwaves and all that stuff.
Mm.
So for restroom facilities was in the house, outside the house?
Could have been outside with all those people.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I've never seen a picture of an outhouse here. I assume there in this for those times fancy house there surely were toilets in the house.
Now it looks to me like from this picture there was an upstairs.
Yeah. Well, there was
Well,
probably
then.
a sleeping
that
room
could
up.
accommodate 2 families at least upstairs.
Hmm.
I don't remember that at all. But there's a window there, so that means that it may have had a basement.
Some sort of a basement, maybe for coal or something, yeah, for the furnace.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And was it coal fire, you said, or was wood used?
I assume wood. I assume. I don't know. I don't ever remember coal being transported at all.
In a lot of our research, we've seen that this whole area was irrigated. Do
Yes.
you remember the irrigation systems, the pump houses, pipes?
I can only remember the pump house. The pump house was on the Columbia was very important for my father, and the thing was always going bad. He I think every week he had a problem with that pump house.
And did they use canals or did they use piping?
Piping, as I remember, piping the water. The water was piped up to this. We're sloping to the Columbia from here, so they pumped the water up to this level into a ditch system that lets the water run down again towards the Columbia.
Do you remember what the pipes were constructed of? Were
No,
they metal pipe, wood
no,
pipes?
No. It would.
Probably
Wood. It would have been wood.
Wires
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's what we have in our backyard now.
Okay.
Until they took them all out.
So compared to other irrigation farms around here, was your dad's more advanced, or was there a system set up that everybody could use?
I don't know that. It seems to me that this was a pretty good ranch. From the pictures the research I've done, this is surely one of the nicest houses in this whole area, and I'm sure that the water systems and so on were adequate, because the prior owner, we think, was a cattle rancher. He also needed water for his animals.
I know this is a photo you've probably seen many times.
Yes.
Can you describe those 2 youngsters in that photo?
Well, sure. That's
Wow. 2 years old, huh?
you two. And I was 4. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we look very happy, don't we?
You do.
That was the happy days.
No, but I think no, I probably was quite happy, because a farm like this is exciting. You know, there were animals and all types of things to do, and you'd pull out bow and arrow, you know, and shoot it into the air, and no one would be hurt.
We have a map of how the farm was laid out compared to where we are at. Can you describe where the orchards are in relation to the warehouse and to where your house actually was?
No, I don't know that, but everything is, as far as I understood, everything was here to the, what is it, the north of this area here. And at this house that was torn down must have been very, very near this area too.
What details about the ranch did your parents frequently tell you about?
Well, one of the things was the distance to get somewhere, to a school. That was always a problem. I remember when I was before I was born, my father bought a new pickup to make sure that he could get his pregnant wife to the hospital.
Okay.
You had mentioned about the Army Jeeps pulling up,
Yes.
and that a goat had knocked you over.
Yeah.
What else do you remember about that particular day?
Nothing else really, because I'm sure that my parents didn't talk serious things over when we were and I didn't understand it anyway, what was going on. I didn't know what an atomic bomb project was, or I just understood we're going to have to move. And
They were great though for putting the kids to bed early and then conversing among themselves. They didn't
yeah,
get
yeah.
the children involved in conversation that, you know.
Like today,
Yeah.
much different, yeah.
So fond recollections of your parents,
Fond recollections.
what would those be?
Well, first of all, people that were always at home. I had a very good place to come back to whenever I was away. They were very caring. My mother tended to us very, very nicely, and they we always they would take us with them. When my mother went to Yakima, for example, I would go along, which was a very exciting trip for me as a young kid. They did a lot for us.
You mentioned trips to Yakima. What would a trip entail?
Well, first of all, probably a 2-hour drive. Yeah, here I did.
Did we
I
stop at the
didn't even take
Silver
me an
Dollar?
hour today, to get here from the middle of Yakima.
We stopped at the Silver Dollar Cafe.
No, I don't remember that. No.
So many times we went to Sunnyside, though we didn't go to Yakima.
Well,
very
but
often.
we have even pictures of us going, of my mother and myself in Yakima, sure. But well, Sunnyside's a little closer. But I think if you want to get anything done, really done at that time, Yakima was the bigger and more important city.
What kind of shopping then would you and your parents do in Sunnyside or in Yakima when you went?
Well, we would go to Sears and Roebuck and
Montgomery Ward?
Montgomery Ward, get underwear, pants, and shirts, and whatever you needed. Overalls, yeah.
And
Shoes.
my recollection was the hermit that we always stopped the pickup on the way to Sunnyside along the road, and he lived pretty close in a little wooden house or a little shack.
Shack,
And he
yeah.
would always come out to the truck and say, "Hi, Mary, how are you?" We would never miss stopping to talk to him for a minute. And he had an old camp stove, and I don't know, that went to Englewood Avenue in Yakima with us, and I don't know if that was his or not, but he used a little camp stove with a chimney, and he lived out there in Never Never Land for however many years, but he always enjoyed saying, "Hi, Mary, how are you?" Now I can remember that just as plain as day.
Well, my mother probably gave him something too, gave him some food or something.
Yeah, could be. I don't know.
I assume that, yeah. Mm.
When did you first see the ranch again after you left in 1943, and do you remember how you felt the first time you saw the homestead?
We purchased our first car after the war in 1949, and I think that my first trip out here was probably 1950, and we stood out here at the fence and looked this way and saw the house, and well, that was all that was there. And maybe
They
this
were
built
so persistent on, you can't do this and you can't do that. I mean, back off, because we're here to guard this property and you can't go any further than we tell you. I mean, they were that was one thing that, oh, man.
No,
they
we
just
couldn't go
put
on
up with
beyond the
anything.
fence. Yeah.
And how'd that make you feel at the time, the first time you saw it, that there was no way you could get near the property?
Well, there again, we were so young that it didn't affect us, but
Well, you see, but important too. I was very happy in Yakima. I like I say, it's like going to New York, because I was in a very good school, Castleville School in Yakima, Washington, a small school where I had lots of friends, and all kinds of activities that I liked as a young guy.
Do you remember your parents' helpers here on the farm? You had mentioned you have an extended family that was always visiting, but what about hired help?
No, I don't remember. No memory at all.
How about daily occurrences, daily chores for a 5-year-old? What were you expected to do?
Well, I probably had to feed the goats, for example. There wasn't much lawn to mow out here.
we had a friend.
Did you assist in the orchard work during harvest, or?
No, I was just too small for that, and my father was probably afraid that I'd get hurt if I went out into the fields with him.
And the old warehouse, we had an opportunity to kind of walk through it.
Mm.
Do you remember the usage of any of the rooms? You mentioned once before about a cookhouse.
Yes. Well, I remember. The only thing I do remember is that it was a real chore cooking for so many people.
And how many would your mother be cooking for?
Well, I think in the harvest time up to 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big ranch.
Speaking of cooking, do you remember how your food was kept cool?
Why? Do we have a cellar of any kind?
No, I don't remember that at all. Didn't we have a refrigerator already? When were refrigerators available on the market? Yeah, I think so. I think we had a refrigerator. Yeah.
So during harvest, how was the fruit transported?
A tractor, trailer, and then on trucks, on pickups or trucks, to the warehouse out here where the train finally picked everything up.
And a name I had shared with you earlier through our research. Do you remember the term Sagebrush Annie?
No, I don't remember that at all. No.
There was somewhere, maybe between here and Sunnyside, like a camp, an army. What do you call it? When the like a barracks. And during their move, I had to go stay with them periodically because, they were kind of like babysitters, and I would sit on the steps of this
Barracks.
well, they were like apartments, but they were, of course, several, just rows and rows, and I would play with Jimmy Snazy. Now, nobody knows that name. They don't remember that name, but I always stayed with Jimmy. So, whatever that's worth, I don't know. I would like to have someone in conversation recognize that name, but nobody has so far.
Well, we'll definitely look into that name for you.
Yeah, I don't know how you spell it. It wasn't Sneezy. It was Snazy because I remember that quite.
She has a good memory, huh?
Yeah.
Three.
Jimmy,
What?
Jimmy.
That would. You were 3 years old then.
Mhm.
Oh my God, that's great. Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then after, let's see, it was 3 years old. I guess the rest of the family had moved in individual houses.
What?
And
We moved to Yakima.
No, but the other family, Aunt Helen, moved to Oregon
Yeah.
and
To Portland.
in a little older house, which was very nice. And I can't remember, it was Hawthorne Avenue or something. I have the I could look that up. And I had to stay with her at least a week. And I remember that because I was in a crib in the front bedroom, and she had candy, and I love candy. And my mother said, "No, Helen, she might, choke on it." Well, so she gave me a lemon drop, and I choked. And boy, I'm telling you, they came running. So then I would always be anxious in the morning or in the afternoon. My uncle would come home from work, and I would go down the lane and meet him. He would come home like 4:30 or 5, and I was always, my aunt would send me out the door to go meet Uncle Glenn, which was a lot of fun for me, but I didn't mind staying there at all because they wanted me to be in good hands trying to move out of this mess. So, but that's all I remember. I don't remember any transaction of the moving from or going from her house to Yakima. I don't remember moving in Yakima or anything.
You had mentioned earlier about the extended family that was here. Your family ended up in Yakima. Where did everybody else end up?
Well, the grandma moved in a little house
in Portland, huh?
in Portland on Division Street, I believe it was. And I think she ended up
Also in Portland.
only a block and a half from my mom's older sister, which was Helen. Helen's Stover. But I know Helen was in another little part of town, but then she moved, I don't know when she moved, but when she moved to her last house where she passed away, she was only a block and a half, I think, from my grandma. But then the brothers, of course, my mom's brothers had been in the service and moved back east and came back, and then they settled in. One settled in Galvin, and the other one was in the ended up in the Secret Service. So he was back east. And then he, of course, married and divorced and remarried, and I don't know where. I think he ended up probably in Virginia, West Virginia, or somewhere like that. But we didn't see him very often at all because of the distance. So they all branched out pretty close to, it wasn't pretty close to our house, and we always made trips in the at least 3 or 4 times a year to Portland, and then to Centralia in Galvin. Her one brother moved to the Galvin area because he was a mechanic.
Oh, okay, so, but let's get back to our mother and father.
Okay.
They went to Yakima and bought a small house on what third Street or something.
Oh, to find that house.
Okay.
Third Avenue.
So Third Avenue. Okay, Third Avenue. And then we were there for about a half a year.
Until they were house shopping.
They were shopping for a small ranch, which my father then purchased on 4301 Inglewood Avenue.
From Damon Canfield.
When
he was
Mr. Canfield,
in the government some way. And my dad was always disappointed. This house is junk. I mean, he never liked that house.
Okay, but he had a 12-acre farm that he could work more or less himself, other than picking.
I guess maybe he was so spoiled with this house that to move in a house that was much less
as
far as quality, he couldn't handle it. He really
Okay, but we grew up in a very nice atmosphere in Yakima. Yakima was, to me anyway, I don't know about what you think, but it was a wonderful town for a school kid. All kinds of activities and
a long walk home every.
Oh my God! Yeah, so
cut through the orchards and.
the school bus picked us up.
But a lot of times, maybe I had to stay after school. I don't know. I walked home a lot of times.
Okay.
So when you lived here on the homestead, do you remember any of your neighbors?
Only the only thing that I remember are Marguerite and what was it?
Wills.
Yeah, Wills. Marguerite Wills. Gary and Marguerite Wills, which were friends that visited us. Even then in Yakima, because they also moved to Yakima. They were they had a farm near here. I don't know where.
And Gil Hooley, they were friends with Gil Hooley because I remember that name real vividly. And they are also in Yakima, across from the St. Paul School. And I've asked them about pictures, but since it was an in-law situation, you know, he didn't keep track of the pictures, and she wasn't too interested in them. She said, no, my sister might have some, but I talked to his sister, or her sister, and they just didn't keep them. So that was a dead end.
We also have done some other research about other farmers around here. I'm going to throw out a few names and see if you remember them at all. Lovelands?
No, not that name.
No.
How about Von Herbergs?
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard that name.
Just down that direction by Veneta. Apparently they had 400 acres.
Oh yeah, okay.
Do you remember interacting with them at all?
No, not that, no.
Shaw's?
No, no.
Wheeler?
Wheeler. I don't think so.
Apparently there was a lot of sharing when it came to the farmers out here.
Yeah.
Do you remember neighboring farmers coming and helping your father, or vice versa?
I think I remember a farmer help coming in for the pump house. People, neighbors, or people coming in helping my father with the pump house.
And do you remember recollecting him leaving and helping other farmers?
No, I don't remember that. No.
Just one more page.
Okay, good. Good.
Do you remember any of the families that lived in the Ringgold area or near the Richland area?
No, because we had, the only contact that we had was Sunnyside, that I know of anyway, that was Sunnyside or Yakima.
A little bit more about the homestead and the house that you lived in. Do you remember telephones?
No, I don't. But we surely had one. Huh? You surely had a telephone.
No, I don't. Probably not one on the wall, but one of those small black ones.
Yeah. I don't even remember, but we surely had one, a telephone out here.
You mentioned about your father purchasing a vehicle,
Yeah.
a truck. Do you remember what style, what type
No,
it was?
a 38 Chevrolet pickup.
And how did he go about purchasing that vehicle?
Well, he surely drove to. I assume my father saved the money he needed. A truck cost maybe $5,000, $10,000 at that time, not more than $10,000. He probably went into Yakima to the dealership and saw a truck and said, I like that truck right there. Here's the money. I would think that would be the way he would work.
Special events at the farm, Christmas, Easter, any of those bring back memories?
No, 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 not really. We surely had a Christmas tree, didn't we? Yeah.
Would be probably a live one. I don't know. But no, it's just so far back that that's weird. But I don't remember any holidays.
No, I don't. I don't
I
either.
can't remember the house. I couldn't remember holidays.
But my mother was a person. She didn't especially like celebrations, so they weren't. She would downtone a celebration other than make a big deal out of it.
Ludwig, you'd mentioned earlier about a very special event that happened with a locomotive that was going by. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my father would take me with him to the warehouse with a load of fruit, and one day I was there. The train just came in, and the what do you call the locomotive? What the locomotive? The guy that was running it?
Engineer.
The locomotive engineer saw me, and I looked up at the guy, and we liked each other immediately, evidently, and so he threw a Coca-Cola down, just threw it down. It's quite a ways down, and so I was picked up, and he was my friend for the rest of my life.
Near the Veneta Bridge, where it is right now, there was a family called Yeager.
Yeah.
You remember them at all? Also, there was a ferry. Can you tell us a little bit about your recollections of the ferry system or the Yeagers?
No, I don't know that, but I know the ferry was a real a rough thing to work. There were hard winters with lots of ice in the Columbia. Sometimes you get out in the middle of the Columbia and the engine would go bad and you sort of float away. So that working the ferry, and that's why my Uncle Glenn also left, I think. Working the ferry was just terribly hard work and risky hard work.
You had mentioned about ice on the Columbia River. What was your just general thoughts about the weather in this area?
Oh, just dramatic. Very warm in the summer, terribly warm out here. Very windy, and very cold on the other side. Just the extremes. And there were evidently, when I've read, there were mild winters out here, but there were also very, very cold winters.
There was another family in the Veneta area. I know I'm throwing out a lot of names, but I'm realizing that you were young at the time. But Chester?
Chester?
Mm-hmm.
No.
And McGee?
I can't remember that name.
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. McGee sounds more familiar to me. Yeah.
In reading Colonel Matthias's diary, he mentions about a court hearing in Spokane in July 23rd, 1943, for the eviction of the family site here. Do you recall a trip planned by your parents to go to Spokane?
In '43.
Mm-hmm.
No. That was the official the official meeting for that eviction, huh?
That was
Right,
a
it was
long
up
ways
in
to
Spokane.
Yeah. Okay. No, I don't remember
Go.
that.
Long ways to go in that new truck.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have heard that some of the farmers were allowed actually to come back on site to harvest their fruit. Do you remember your father leaving Yakima, coming back out here to do any harvesting?
No, not at all. No. He was very, very busy in Yakima. First of all, finding a farm and then getting it going.
Are there any other highlights that you remember that you'd like to share with us?
Well, here, relating to the farm here. No, not really. Do you have anything?
No, but I just happened to remember there was some kind of a cart that we were wheeled around in. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It had two
Yeah.
large wheels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if we took that to Yakima with us, but
Mm.
it was I don't know if it was homemade or not, but it was. There should be some pictures of that cart somewhere, but that was kind of fun to ride around in that cart.
Mm.
Other than the cart, then, or were there any other toys or
No,
things that
we
you
had
really remember?
tricycles and bikes with training wheels and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. Nope. In fact, maybe one of my uncles might have made the cart. That's more like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I know you brought a few items here.
Mm.
Now that is
Wow.
from what was Mr. Martinez gave me that.
And this is his homestead. What do you remember about, what was his full name again?
Simon Martinez. No, was that Rameau was the one I was talking with, and Simon was his father. And he was the one that was terribly upset about this whole situation. And he never got over it, because he said he remembers them saying, "We will give it back when the time comes." And it never happened.
Did he or your father ever talk about compensation for the ranch?
Oh yes. Well, yes. You see, my father went to court for compensation. They offered him, I don't know, something, and he couldn't agree with that at all. And they went to court, and what I understood was that my father was building a fruit ranch here, and was just in development, and the first big crop that would have brought a good profit was in say 42 or 40 or even 43. So the judge asked him, "Well, sir, show me your profits, and I'll give you what you think is right." And my father said, "Well, I don't have any profits yet, because my father was supported by his German family, I think, for many years, and he would have gone into a very good profit situation, I think, but that takes time, with a farm."
And you'd mentioned about goats. Was there other animals that were here on the homestead?
Well, surely goats,
Sheep.
rabbits,
The sheep were.
and sheep. Yeah, sheep. Yeah, sheep. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much. This was very
Sorry we
informative
couldn't
for
be-
me.